Okay. All right, we are at 5 o'clock on the dot. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining us. I have a feeling a few more people may hop on. I sent out the reminder again today. Um, and I know Stephanie is planning to join as well from NCFF Marketing. Just really quickly go through the agenda if it will launch. My computer's very slow today. Let's try it again. Let's see, we'll try, see if we'll move to the next slide. There we go. So we're going to have a couple just general announcements for you, updates from fire, and then Stephanie on the Napa gift guide. And then we have another special guest speaker, Jim Niss from FlameMapper, to talk about beacon boxes. So on general announcements, I'd sent out an email earlier this month and then also in the newsletter with a poll asking how we wanted to proceed with this fall, because both our November and our December meetings coincide with the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. And the votes were tallied, and it looks like everyone is, well, at least the majority of the voters have agreed that we want to meet one more time in November. So that will be on November 20th, I believe, and we'll be sending out that invitation shortly. So I just wanted to let you know to expect one more invite from us this year, and then we'll kick over to the new schedule in January. And with that, I just want to hand it over. I'm not sure if JR is on. And if not, we will move to Eric for any announcements you have, Eric.
All right. So thank you, Lori. Thank you, everybody, for giving us an opportunity to join this important meeting. Obviously, we're starting to get rain, and which is a good thing. But that doesn't mean that we're out of peak fire season just yet. So, while we welcome the rain, we are still wanting to make sure that we're reminding our community that things can still burn. And hence today we actually just concluded today we concluded a, uh, a prescribed burn out in the Stag Sleep district. So I'm blessed to be a part of that, and so the fuel's carried very well. So while we have seen some moisture, there's still weeds that are burning if needed. So let's just be mindful of that. Also, the other thing that I want to mention, as we're looking to close down the season, since JR hasn't jumped on yet, but hopefully doesn't mind me saying this. The chipping program is still available. It's going to close at the end of the month. So anybody that still has the opportunity to submit or would like to request chipping services, the chipping crew will be available to ensure that they're chipping all the way to the end of the list. So the last day would be the 31st of October, and they will be here for a whole week just to make sure that they clean out that list. Um, the other thing is with our defensible space inspection program, we are obviously no longer enforcing, given the time of the year. However, this is the perfect time for people to start submitting their requests for consultation inspections. So the difference is consultation means if you want to do the right thing, if you need a little bit of guidance of what type of work you should be doing on your property, this is the time to reach out to our office and reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to come out in the next couple of months to make sure that we're preparing you, we're assisting you by providing information on how to prepare for next year's peak fire season. Um, and also, we're planning on additional prescribed burns for the next couple months, weather permitting, of course. So as they come out, we'll be working with the county and Cal Fire Sonoma Lake Napa unit on social media and next door. We'll be pushing out information about our burns. That way, people don't get alarmed and when they see smoke in the air. So there's a lot of benefits that we've seen in the past, and CFF has been instrumental with doing some burns as well with PUC forests. So, and we want to make sure that we continue that good effort. Um, basically from the fire marshal's office, that's basically what we have. And from fire, we're coming into the winter months, which means we're going to see a lot of rain, and that means that the potential for structure fire is very high because people are going to want to be using the heaters or their chimneys. So let's make sure that even though we're away from peak fire season in the next couple of weeks, we want to make sure that people are
We're on track.
changing their smoke alarms, but also, hey Phil, you want to mute?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Um, yeah, so let's make sure that people are replacing their batteries on their smoke detectors. And then also let's make sure that you're staying safe when you guys are out on the roads. It's going to be a wet season, so let's make sure we're being cognizant of the slippery roads. And as always, if you guys need anything, we're here to assist you. And we can't thank you enough for all the work that you guys do behind the scenes within your districts, and we're very truly blessed to have this partnership with NCFF, and for all of the hard work that you guys continue doing in your as part of your fire safe council
You can listen to the
communities.
music if you want.
That's all I have. I think Paul, you're not muted, Paul. Just FYI, that's push-ups.
I don't know. Does anybody have any questions for Eric? Otherwise, I was just wondering, Eric, is there any advance notice or plan to where the prescribed burns might be for where people to expect, or does that just is basically as opportunity comes up?
No, so I've been working with Chief Isham. He's identified, so we plan on doing also a couple birds that we have, to my knowledge, is um we Castle View, which is off of Wild Horse Valley. We're planning that one, as well as PUC, another one at PUC Forest. I think that's an assist. To my knowledge, those are and also another one for Snell Valley Road and Pope Valley. So again, those are in the planning stages. Again, it's weather permitting, and as soon as we know, we will let you. We'll do a press release, and then we'll share some information on social media. That way, everybody's in the know. And also, what I'll do, just to make it a little bit easier, I'll send you Lori and Sherry, and also Stephanie, a heads up, a copy. That way, you guys are aware. If you guys, in case you guys want to share with the Fire Safe Council leads.
Cool. Also, Eric, one last question. How do we contact you about getting a consultation inspection?
So no, that's a great question. So the best way is email. I can give you my email. I can write it in the chat shortly, but also in our website, there is a function where you can submit a request. But email is the best way. I try to stay away from phone calls in the past. I would allow phone, but the problem is I get inundated so much, and I want to make sure that every email that comes through, I want to make sure that I'm addressing those questions and those requests.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Lori, I did have a question really quickly, and then, I see JR has just jumped on, and it might be a question for him, but Eric, these are really helpful reminders, so thank you so much for all of that great information. There have been a few calls and incoming requests because, you know, Eric knows well, is on October 13th, the local unit kind of lifted that burn permit suspension. And so, do you want to spend maybe 2 minutes talking about burn permits, guidance, and then how people can understand pile burning between the SRA and the LRA? Because I've had a few of those come in, and so I thought maybe it might be something this group would be interested in.
Absolutely, and thank you for reminding me, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because Napa County has a cooperative agreement with Cal Fire for suppression services, when it comes to open burning, basically all rules from the SRA apply to the LRA. So in other words, if you're basically in the valley floor, it's the same process. So you're still going to go online. I can follow up via email and send you guys a copy of the actual press release for the open burn ban. That way everybody has the right website. So historically, everything has been you call a local station and they come out and look at it, look at the piles before you light them. The way that they're doing them now is everything's virtual. They make you sign up, and then you'll be contacted, and then also understand that you still have to work with Bay Area air quality. I know that some people call it a permit, but it's more of a notification. There is a fee that you have to pay through Bay Area quality, and you have to make sure that it's not a spare the air day and it's in the burn day. So those are the basic things that you have to do. And whether you're in the LRA or SRA in Napa County, it's both applicable and they're both the same.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie, for the reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions that anybody has?
Just thank you, Eric, for everything you do.
It's a partnership. You guys do a lot with us, and I'll be honest with you. I hear it. I was contacted by Madera County, Mariposa County. I'm sorry, and recently, and they asked me about our ordinance, but also just totality of how everything is going in Napa County. And the reality is the work that you guys are doing, all the information, the education, just everything that Firewise and the Fire Safe Councils are assisting us. It's invaluable. So thank you as well.
Thanks, Eric. And since JR has joined, speaking of partnership, JR has created a proposed 2026 chipping schedule. JR, did you want to speak to that and anything else?
No, appreciate it. Like I said, this is the proposed schedule that we put forward, and would appreciate any input from the leads as you guys take a look. This is obviously fluid and flexible, and we got time to work on this. So no decisions need to be made today, but just wanted to at least get it out there so that everybody understands kind of what we're looking at for the launch this next spring. So you're able to make and do some community cleanup meetings maybe ahead of time. I know Deer Park worked on that this last year and just get it out there. So I appreciate everybody's help this season and look forward to launching next year. So thank you.
I'll make sure that this goes out not just in the not just through the MailChimp email, but also in regular email, so you can take a look at it. Because as JR said, we want to make sure if you are planning a community cleanup day to take a look at this and see if there's an opportunity to have this align. I think this is pretty close to last year's schedule, if not pretty much the same as last year. Just the weeks are slightly different, I think, starting a week later. But again, thank you for sharing that in advance, JR. That's super helpful. If there are no further questions, I think we can move over to Stephanie.
Fantastic. Thank you. Are you driving the ship? Yeah, thank you. So good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. I know I make infrequent appearances here. I learn so much each time. So that was great listening to Eric and JR, and maybe I should come more often. I'm really excited to share that Napa Firewise is participating in this year's Give Guide with Napa Valley CanDo. It's such a fantastic organization. If you've been a lead or been involved with Napa Firewise for a few years, we have participated before, but there's just been a gap. You sort of have to get engaged with them like months early. You apply to be in the Give Guide, and then you get selected and go from there. And so in the past 11 years, they've raised over $6 million for over 150 nonprofits, which is pretty extraordinary. There's a ton of marketing and exposure that nonprofits get by participating in the Give Guide. So there is just enormous value for Napa Firewise to be part of this. So I'm really proud that we are participating in this year. I think it's a real opportunity to support our fire safe councils. And so what we are going to do is we are going to run a campaign to raise money for beacon boxes across Napa County. And so Beacon boxes are a part of almost every CWPP, and so a lot of you within your fire safe council need beacon boxes. Beacon boxes, there's a cost associated with it, and so that's where we think our community outreach can really help make that possible for you. We've had some great success. Spring Mountain has done some excellent fundraising to get beacon boxes in their area. Also, with a fundraising background, I do know people tend to give when they can really associate a donation to a tangible item. As you guys know, and maybe the broader public isn't as aware, fuel reduction projects are very expensive. And so if we said, help us fund, 1,000 acres of fuel reduction, it would be a quite extraordinary amount of dollars we would need to raise, and it might not feel impactful if we were to only raise $10,000, whereas we'll be able to get a few beacon boxes. And so I wanted to talk about that with you guys. This campaign launches November 1st. So I'll be able, next week, I'm going to share a campaign link with Lori that'll go out to all of you, which has some assets that can be shared in whatever your communications channel is. So it'll be like a flyer download if you want to use it. It'll be social media graphics, email talking points, things you can send in emails or like MailChimps if you're using that platform. The link on which people can, make a donation for the Give Guide. And the campaign runs for 2 total months. So you're really trying to kind of encourage that year-end giving when people are thinking about the holidays and gratitude, really giving back to nonprofits, giving back to their communities. You'll see there's banners on buses across the county. There's banners on buildings, and there's flyers in coffee shops. And so beacon boxes are, really important. After having this conversation with Chief Greenberg, someone had said to me, well, our beacon box is sort of extinct because everything is on computers now. The reality is while locally our first responders use tablet command universally, we get a lot of responders from outside agencies across the state of California that might not be using tablet command, and they're arriving unknown of our location and the details that exist within your neighborhoods. And so they can go to these beacon boxes, have access to maps, so both a paper copy in the case of, I think most of you experienced, internet is an issue, cell service. They can scan QR codes, and so if their phone is working as it should, they can scan the QR code for the map, and that map can load in any sort of mapping app that they're using. It doesn't have to be tablet command. And so that is the value, like a major value to the beacon box that brings to our communities, versus trying to rely on a one app tech service like tablet command. There's other elements within the beacon box I'm not going to get into because there is a presentation, but there are other elements in the beacon box that are really critical. And if we go to the next slide, here's sort of some strategies that we've developed that it's going to make the campaign the most successful, and we really hope that you choose to participate it. Within the Give Guide, folks can go in and make a contribution, and then there's a box that says in honor of, and they can enter your fire safe council name. So we're hoping to use this so fire safe councils can say, hey, I can actually use this built campaign without having to develop my own and try to raise money within my fire safe council to get a beacon box within my community. What we're suggesting to leverage the campaign is that you as a fire safe council can tell your community, hey, we're gonna fund match, so we're gonna do a dollar for dollar match up to a certain amount, or we're gonna fund the difference. And that can really help push a donor kind of over that line if they know, hey, my $20 donation is gonna become 40 because there's a match. Or an opportunity is, we know that the cost of this beacon box is $4,300, give or take. We need to look at the most current pricing, but let's say that you raise $2,500, then you can say, hey, we're going to fund the difference so that we get that one beacon box within our community. So there's a few options, and I am going to run this campaign, so I'm happy to meet one-on-one and talk about the best strategies for your community. But there's a really great opportunity here to leverage this already built campaign that has a lot of exposure behind it. to bring something tangible to your community, especially if it's within your CWPP. And it kind of helps, another reason to rally your neighbors together and remind them in a season that can be pretty quiet because, as Eric said, it's rainy season. People kind of stop thinking about fire risk quite a bit. And this is a great time to think about. There's always things that we can be doing year round, thinking about our communications, thinking about how to involve our local fire department, incoming responders from out of area. Another opportunity is that on our Give Guide webpage, we can list match sponsors. So if you were to have a local business within your Fire Safe Council, or even someone who owns something like a landscaping business or a plumbing business who wants to make a business contribution as a match sponsor, we can add them to the webpage. So they're also getting some branding and exposure. They're showing other community members across Napa County that they're invested in supporting wildfire resiliency. And we can also talk about potential branding. Let's say you have someone who wants to like pay for the beacon box in full, and I can connect with Jim and Lori. I believe there's an opportunity where we can look at some branding on the beacon box itself. Now, Napa Firewise is going to push this as a general campaign as well. So we are going to get funds that will not be associated to a fire safe council. How's that going to work? We work closely with Napa County Fire and having conversations, with Chief Greenberg. Is the funds that we receive in certain, like the community pool, is those will go towards beacon boxes of highest priority according to Napa County Fire. And so let's say you don't raise enough money to get your beacon box. We don't want that money just kind of sitting on the side waiting for you to keep fundraising for an unknown amount of time. It'll go to that community pool, and we'll make sure that based on Napa County Fire's most critical priority list of where the beacon boxes need to be, understanding any existing beacon boxes, we'll make sure that those are distributed across the county based on those recommendations from our local fire officials. Lori, I know that you and I have spoken about this. Did I miss anything that we've kind of gone back and forth? I don't want to get too much into what is a beacon box because there's going to be more intel on that. But I wanted to really get into like kind of Fire Safe Council opportunity and leaning into this, and then open for any questions. Glenn, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just curious if we can put some snacks in there for the firefighters for when it hits the fan.
That would be nice. They would probably appreciate it. And unfortunately, we would hope they go stale, right? We would hope that they're looking at snacks from like 2 years ago.
I
Yeah,
see
no
Bob
doubt.
has a question.
Hey, Bob.
Hi. I know in the past when we were looking into beacon boxes for our area, there was some rule about a minimum number of boxes. I'm assuming from what you said that this supersedes that, and we no longer need to say, we're going to need X boxes in our FSC in order to get them.
I believe we'll hit our minimum on that.
Yep.
Previously, I think we did an order of 4, so I don't think it's going to be an issue to hit our
Okay, good.
minimum.
Yeah, I hadn't been clear on whether that was 4 for NCFF or 4 for an FSC or 4 for a given mapping area. So
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah, so good. So those were the questions I had about how to make this work, and if we raise enough for 2 boxes that we need, we don't need to worry about them being in the same mapping area or falling short of 4 in an FSC or anything like that.
Not to my knowledge, but it is something I'll triple confirm, obviously, but that hasn't been my understanding.
Great, thanks.
Yeah,
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can, Dan.
Great. So I'm not familiar with beacon boxes, and I'm thinking about driving up and down Atlas Peak and where they would go and who would stop and when they would be used. Like in terms of fundraising, I don't feel like I would be a good seller of these.
Okay. Well, I think the next guest is going to maybe help. I don't want to say change your opinion, but provide some more information, and then following Jim's presentation, I think would be a good time. And then where it would go, we definitely want to lean into our fire officials. So let's say your fire safe council raises the money, they love the concept, they know that they want to have this resource kind of, within your fire safe counter, your fire safe council parameters, is we're going to lean into our fire officials to say, okay, within here, where is the best place? Because they know, and it's really thinking about these out of town firefighters coming in and having access to that information is a priority.
Right.
So I would say
Can I share a little of our experience, Stephanie, if you don't mind?
revisit this, please do.
Yeah. So just to tag on to that point, we were facing this with Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council. We were gifted 4 from PG&E. We ended up going out to our community and raising enough money for another 4. It was actually a relatively easy goal that we hit with one fundraiser. And we asked some of the larger wineries to chip in for a particular box in a location near them, which was another useful tool.
Hello?
Lost you.
I think we got to freeze.
Our
Thank you,
10,000
pros, Pam. Oh,
area.
there you are.
Sorry, I'm freezing a lot. My bad. But we got a lot of input from FlameMappers initially on the 8 that would be located within our 10,000 acres of our fire safe council. We then went to Eric and JC, and we looked at the maps with them. We collaborated to get a design. Eric drove with Brandon, my co-lead from Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council, and we presented a set of locations to our steering committee to have them okay it. And so that's kind of a process that I wanted to throw out there so you guys can hear how it worked on our end. And Brandon and I are happy to talk offline with anybody who's thinking about, okay, how do I go about mapping this? That took us honestly quite a few months to get through the process of locating them, but that's okay because it allowed us to build a collaborative approach to where these are going to end up being.
Right, and it's got to be typically a place that's easy to find, and a place where multiple trucks or crews can gather. So they're all strategically placed, and that collaboration with Cal Fire was very helpful.
We also looked at where trucks gathered in the glass fire, and we wanted to try to pick those locations because we know that's a natural point where out of town firefighters will gather, like Freemark Abbey or Brasswood. Those were easy for us over here. So just wanted to add that to try to make it a little more realistic for everybody. I think this is a great idea to try to push this across the whole county as a fundraiser. So
Agreed, because not every fire safe council needs a particular set number. Spring Mountain is rather difficult because it's so big and the roads are kind of wonky. So 8, we decided 8 for this particular area, but a place like, let's say, Hennessy Rector might only need 3. So if there's a minimum purchase, then they could be kind of scattered about.
Thanks, guys. That is really helpful. And, Napa Firewise also continues to work on, some major fuel reduction projects across the county. So we want to keep these maps updated so people know where they're good insertion points across the county for fire response and fuel breaks. And we want to make sure that these mapped elements become available to our first responders.
Right, and my goal when I was first pursuing this for Spring Mountain was to kind of lead the charge for fire safe councils to take the lead and to take the onus off of Cal Fire or Napa County Fire and update the maps ourselves according to critical infrastructure within our FSC and then update those maps accordingly.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Stephanie. And it does sound like JC Greenberg is going to be leaning in to help with identifying where they feel the most critical locations are. So do not feel, and the rest of you, that you need to go on a major exploratory mapping exercise, because I think Napa County Fire, Cal Fire has already leaned in to assist with that. And I'm sure Eric will be involved in that as well. But with that, I feel like we should—
Another hurdle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
I was just going to say we should probably let Jim speak, who comes from FlameMapper, to just get everybody leveled up on what beacon boxes are, since we are so fortunate to have someone from FlameMapper here. But Stephanie, did you want to add something first?
I just know Donnie she has a question, and she's been so patient.
But I can save it for Jim as perhaps the right person. There's been some discussion up here about, installing too many things with red lights that are permanently on.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that for him.
yeah, okay.
Jim, shall I stop share? Do you want to take over?
Yes, yeah.
It's all yours.
All right. First of all, thanks for having me meet with your group tonight. We actually have, let me make sure, Shay Broussard, who's the owner of the company, is.
I'm here.
Oh, you're on there. Okay. So if I get sideways
everybody.
on something, he'll be able to clean it up. I must say I have never done a presentation where I got such a positive intro. Having you folks already know about the boxes is really cool. So I'm gonna share. Come on, where's my share?
But with that, Jim, I would just say let's level set to make sure everybody, because I think some people on this call know a little bit more than others. So I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to really understand how these have been used, leveraged, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go basic.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, coming through.
Okay. So what I'm going to go through is a little bit about the company, how we came about, what we're doing, and then get into the detail of the boxes, how we're using them, and some areas that we didn't think that they were going to be used. It's been kind of a, when you build stuff, you think it's going to be used a certain way, and then someone comes from the outside looking in and says, hey, I want to do it this way. So there's been some cool stuff. So our focus is closing that information gap. And that is that gap between the citizens, the fire departments, and within the fire departments themselves. Because unfortunately, I come out of Ventura County Fire. Fire departments often work in silos, so they don't share information readily. It's not easy. I have my CAD system, you have yours. I create my maps this way, you create yours that way. Tablet Command is trying to get a common operating picture, which is great, but it's all steps that we have to go through. Come on now, there we go. So Shay is the CEO and the owner of the company. He has been involved with basically fire modeling. That's his mainstay. He brought this in 15, 20 years ago. He's been working on this thing. And the beacon boxes came out of that kind of in a weird way. But it was just one of those moments. He lives in Agora Hills, had the Woolsey fire. He got out of his house one day. He saw a fire engine, a LA County fire engine across the street. And he went over and talked to the crew and said, hey, what are you guys doing? They had an old Thomas Brothers map out and they said, we're trying to find out where we are. And Shay said, hey, you're in LA County. You should have maps for this. And they said, yeah, but we're from East County. We don't have the maps. So it was one of those things, light bulb goes off and things happen. So Shay's been doing his thing. I came out of fire. I did a bunch of stuff. I am now the project and the sales manager. I've been doing that for about 18 months. And I really wasn't expecting a new career at this stage of my life, but I understood what they were doing and I bought into it. And I think it's a very valuable thing. So as I talked, FlameMapper is a modeling company that is providing the solutions. I've got my words talking too. Very nice. So it's comprehensive solutions, wildfire assessment, all this kind of stuff. The image that you see over there is the current product that is really making some waves, and it's a fire modeling. It does a 8-hour fire spread in 45 seconds or so. And it's a web-based. It's really a cool product. But that's the background. So our mission is to reduce the outcomes of these incredible fires that we're having all the time. And being from the fire department, I wasn't a firefighter. My background is mapping GIS. So I started that for Ventura County. I've seen a lot of fire, been around the country, and we're trying to figure out ways to make it easier for the first responders to do their job. So this is essentially how the box is laid out. The picture up on the right shows the box. It's got the light on it. I heard you say earlier about branding these things. We can brand these however you would like. Be the Fire Safe Council, the Firewise, an HOA, whatever. We can get that information on the box so that you're getting recognition of you're assisting the community as this thing is moving forward. So the image in the middle is actually what's in the box. So we have typically 10 sets of maps of whatever area we're covering is in the back side of the box. They're laminated. They can be drawn on, get water on them, no problem. Then there's a larger map that is it's the same, it has the same coverage area. You get it wet and it'll actually stick over the hood of your engine. It'll stick on it. It's a good map for having more people look at the same data. And down there at the bottom, you can see that there's a row of USB drives, and there's also a QR code that's on the back. So if the firefighter has a cell network that's still working, he just uses the QR code and drops that map right into their phone, their device, whatever it might be. If not, we have a row of USB drives. And most of them are just a standard USB, but we have one that has multiple connectors. So if you have an Android, an iPhone, and both versions of the iPhone connector, you can get your maps that way. And the picture is on the left-hand side, I think is from Malibu. Yes, Coldwater Canyon. That's just looking at one of their installations. And these things can be put on pretty much anything. Telephone poles, power poles. This is on a concrete pole. We use the typical utility poles that are for stop signs and all that kind of stuff. We have different attachments for each of those various kinds of poles. We did have one box that was mounted on a fence, and the fence burned up during the Palisades fire. The box survived, but we're not going to put stuff on fences anymore. That was probably a bad idea. We're always learning. So the whole thing about this box, straightforward, easy to use, easy to understand. It's in a format that the firefighters are used to seeing. They have incident action plans. It looks and feels a certain way. These maps try to mimic that as best we can. Holy moly, there we go. Again, just as kind of saying what I already said about the flash drives, QR codes, they're all in PDF format. And the box has two latches on it, upper and lower on the right, as on the door. The bottom latch actually has a wire that's pushed through it and locked. The upper one has a red combination lock that goes in the top. The idea is that a firefighter is going to come up to that box, and they'll bring their or get their bolt cutters, and they'll just pop that lock off there and break into the box, and then get whatever they need out of it. And then when they leave, we have another lock that they can relock the box. So here's the first look at what our maps actually look like. And it's a highly detailed road network. We make sure all the roads are connected so that you can get here from there. We have some values in there that shows a road that's maybe a primary road, a little bit wider, others that are narrower. We have all the buildings located, all the fire hydrants that are located. In this, let me go to the next map. Yeah, so this is a detail of it. So all those W's that you see on the map there, those are all the pool locations. So if this incoming engine has the ability to suck water out of a pool, now they know where they can go and get that material. Those gold circles are validated turnaround locations. So we're using a lot of technology on the backside. We're using AI, machine learning, great scripting that the guys have done, and they're able to pick this stuff out of imagery. So it gives us a good run at the initial run of what it looks like on the ground. So the standard product is you have a street map on one side, and then you flip it over and you have a aerial photo on the back side. What we are trying to do is provide as much quality information to that firefighter so that they can make great decisions. And I know it was brought up earlier, but I want to focus on a little bit. This is not for the local fire department. The local fire department, the county, the cities, they have spent tens of thousands of dollars making incredible maps for their rigs. And they started with paper maps. They still might be using some paper maps, but a lot of it is electronic. But let's say I'm coming from San Diego to your fire. I don't have those maps. And I'll show you the typical map that we're going to get. It doesn't have the detail that the local guys have, the local departments have. So we're trying to kind of level that playing field so these folks that are coming in can have that same situational awareness of what they're coming into. And that's just another detail. It's the same area that we looked at before.
Mhm.
So in addition, so that's the standard product. In addition, we do some pretty high-end analysis of the same area. So this is in Beverly Hills. So they purchased the box, or let me take it backwards. They purchased these first, and then they decided, yeah, we need the boxes. What makes this map unique? And I'll get both of them up here. These are two fire modeling products, and the one on the right side is potential structural vulnerability. So Shay and his folks, they've gone through and they're using topography and the vegetation and what the winds look like and how the weather and developing these burn models. And they've gone in there and in this particular neighborhood, they've identified parts of the neighborhood that are more critical to fire than others. So if I'm an incoming captain and I come at that box down at the bottom, I grab this data, I know that I need to focus my resources on that red area, not so much on the green area, because that's where my potential hazard, the greatest hazard is. If I go over on the other side, that is flame length potential. It's kind of doing the same thing. So here it's identifying what are the flame lengths going to be in this given area. And I'll say that dark purple area, that is probably just a bunch of trees that are real close together. They may have a lot of understory that hasn't been cleared out. So the flame lengths are going to be much larger than in other parts of this location. So how did this all come about? I kind of told you that the Woolsey fire kind of started this thing. So 2018, Shane, his folks, it was mainly Shay, just kind of started working on this thing. 2020, we had a sample box installed. In 21, we actually went out and we conducted surveys with 12 fire departments so that we could get the input from the men and women on the ground of what they would like to see on the maps. And that's how we came up with this standard that we're using now. So in 22, Malibu was installed. Currently have 47 boxes that are all along Malibu. Gore Hills has 10, I think. Beverly Hills, 10 or 11. And we're putting in 21 in the Chatsworth Lake Manor area, which is a very hilly area just between LA and Ventura County. So here's story time. So imagine I am coming in from San Diego. This is one of the actual fire maps that was created during the Woolsey fire. And on this map, it's got the standard stuff. Our fire guys will recognize this directly. The red line is the fire perimeter. The blue line is basically a road network that's just sitting over the topo. The topo has these streets in it, but the incident GIS folks can drop this center line over their map to enhance it a bit. But imagine I've been coming in, I'm from San Diego, and the operations section chief says, I need to find out what's going on Point Dume. We don't know what's happening down there. You need to go do a recon and figure that out. So they give you this map and you go, okay, this is going to be a bit of work to make this happen. So what we've done is we've created this map, and this is the map. This is a map of the same area. So the scale of the map is a little bit different. That one you saw before, it's a standard map that is used across the country. It's 1 inch to 2,000 feet, so you don't have a lot of detail. This one here is probably about 1 to 500. So we're getting more data in here. So that heavy orange line is the Pacific Coast Highway. And you can see we've got boxes that are kind of littered all over the place there. And the reason we do that is we don't know which direction the firefighters or that engine is going to be accessing your neighborhood. So we want to make sure that if they're coming from the south and moving north where it says Pacific Coast Highway, that we got a couple boxes there that they'll be able to access as they enter that neighborhood. And the same thing happens up north. If they're coming from the north, moving south, we've got boxes that they can access as well. What we've done is we've put this little UR here to let the folks know exactly what box that they've accessed. The real story here is most of these boxes have the same maps in them because it's covering the same area. We're just giving them different opportunities to get to that data. So here we see the road network in there. We also include the lighter black lines are long driveways. And we put those in there because, especially in this area, and Beverly Hills was real big on this, is you have a lot of privacy hedges, and and if it's dark and smoky and whatever's going on, you may not even know that there's a house there. So you get a heads up that driveway is leading you to the home. So we have all the buildings in there. We got the water sources, the fire hydrants, the turnarounds, all that stuff. It's a great map. It's easy to use. What really makes it sing for me is that infrastructure box down in the bottom right. So what we're doing is we're using GIS and we're capturing all the data in that neighborhood. And so in this neighborhood here, and let me sidetrack just a second, you'll see that some roads are black and some are gray. We do that because that box that says you are here is covering all the homes that are in that black road network. The ones that are gray, we have it mapped, but those numbers are not reflective in that structure box. So in that black area, if you will, there's 776 structures. if I just do quick math and multiply that by 3, I've got somewhere 2,100 or so people I may have to evacuate. So now we're giving good intel to the Highway Patrol and the sheriff, who are responsible for evacuations. Then we just list out what's in there. You've got 5 turnarounds, 101 hydrants, 2 draft hydrants, and 215 pool locations and 4 beacon boxes. And so this is the detail of the map. And the reason why I'm even showing you that detail is because, and it was brought up earlier, some people want to work with the hard copy, and some want to, especially our younger firefighters, they want to just do it digitally. And so now having this digitally on their device, they can zoom in and pan around so they can see the greater detail that they're looking at. So you have a little topography. We've got the streams that are in there. And again, just all the water sources, buildings, and fire hydrants. Oh dear, back up. Oh heavens. So this was from the LA County Brigade. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Shay is actually part of this organization. It's, I think, the first brigade that has been financed by a fire department in the country.
Financed and insured by a fire department and fully sanctioned to work with the fire department.
Right. So it's 40 or so volunteers, and they've been trained as wildland firefighters. From what I understand, their thing was to help with mop up and all that kind of stuff. But during the Palisades, it was so dynamic. They were fighting fire, and they were doing some serious stuff. And so this is just the from the brigade saying how they access the boxes and how well it worked for them. So once again, just pound this in of what's in the box. You got the QR code in the back, and actually we have them on the floor of this thing now. The laminated size, and then all the flash drives. What's been interesting here, this box is about the size of a carry-on. So we're not using all this space in here. And there's opportunities, I know Shay has talked about it, where they've been approached about putting in portable weather stations or smaller weather stations, because it has that into it. It's just a matter of getting power to it, which would be solar, however that would work. Those things. So those possibilities exist out there. And this is showing a firefighter in Beverly Hills how he would break the lock off just using his bolt cutters. Here is just various Shay's stash of beacon boxes there, just how they've been installed using at the back of a Beverly Hills rig. That was the box that was on the wooden wall that failed. But the box wasn't damaged. So I got a couple questions up front, and I can just hit this. So
hey Jim, let me jump in just to get everybody knowledge. We get always asked how many boxes we use. So between the Broad Fire and Palisades Fire, we had 11 boxes used and accessed in a variety. A couple maps were used, and 3 or 4 of them they were dead empty. And there was nothing left. We even had the QR code taken out, pulled out of one of them because someone decided they wanted to take it with them. So there's definitely different iterations of use and stories. So yeah, we can jump into more of that if anybody has more questions. I'm happy to jump in and answer some of those questions. But Jim, go ahead, and I'll hand it back to you.
All right, thanks, Jim. So how does a beacon box differ from a box of resources that a resident might assemble themselves? There's 2 things there. These are not really designed for a single residence, even though we do have 1 or 2 boxes out that are at the entrances to a winery. That's kind of a separate thing, but they're really designed for neighborhoods and communities. So you're covering you're covering a broader area, and if you're pushing it out to a single residence, there's a lot of cost involved in there, where if you get it across the community, you're able to share that cost more broadly. So as I had said before, they're highly detailed maps. Firefighters are familiar with them, and they're designed to be used at that community or a neighborhood level. Now, we have had requests of putting in custom, or let's say unique, things that we haven't produced. That's not a problem. If there was some thing that maybe there was a telephone tree that you'd want to put in there, if stuff like that want to show up there, we can certainly talk about that. How do beacon boxes differ from a Knox box? Oh, a no box. Nice. From a Knox box. A Knox box is a box that has a key in it. And it's typically used, realtors use them all the time for homes that they're visiting. So you have let's say, and I'm just making this up, let's say Napa County Fire has a Knox box program, which I'm sure they do, and let's say they have a single key that operates all those Knox boxes. The problem is Sonoma, they have their own keys for Knox boxes. So we had to come up with a solution that wasn't it wasn't strictly by county, by community, over and over and over. So that's where we came up, where we can just break those things off.
Yeah, and it turns out, for the record, there's over 800 Knox box keys in the state of California, different keys. So we had a giant key ring. Being a former firefighter myself, I realized we cut a lot of locks off when we go into industrial areas, and that's when I realized that every fire truck has the same universal key. So that's why we went with that approach.
Excellent. And how they've been leveraged in the past fires. We've built these boxes out, we've got them in place, and we just didn't have a fire to see how they were being used. And Palisades changed all that. So like Shay was saying, I think they had 10 or 11 of them accessed. Unfortunately, we don't know who accessed them and how they use the product, because we didn't have any way of capturing how they did that. And we're coming up with another solution. It's probably going to be another QR code that'll be inside the box. Who are you? That's all I need to know, is what department you work for, because we can track you down. We just want to get intel on how well these things worked or didn't work. We think they work great, but they're one thing that did come up is Southern California Edison's used our maps in the Palisades because they were more accurate than the ones that they had, more detailed. Can the flashing light be turned off by the resident? Yes, they're at the bottom of the light fixture. It's got a little poker in there, and you can turn it off, on and off, flash or solid.
Yeah, and then I'll jump in on that. The city of Malibu has some of the most strict light ordinances in the whole state of California, and this was the only beacon light that would meet their strict ordinance. It emits light but doesn't produce light, so it like has a glow, but you'll notice if you put something next to it, it actually won't shine light onto it. With that being said, the lights are a little volatile and probably the weakest link on the whole box, because they're the only light that actually can meet that light ordinance. So they don't hold up as well as the rest of the box does. But other than that, the light, we hear a lot of worry about the lights going in and the lights and the light pollution. But then once they're in, we've had one customer in all the city of Malibu that they didn't complain, but they just shut it off because it was near their house. But other than that, we haven't had any complaints. We actually thought we'd have a lot more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the light. So on the top of the light is a small solar panel that powers the light, and what it actually does is it broadcasts the light down. It doesn't broadcast it out. So from a distance you can see it, but it's not it's not turning everything red that's around it. And this is just showing where we have our current maps, or excuse me, our current boxes. We're trying to get 44 put in the Ojai Valley. We thought we had a grant dialed in for that, and then CAL FIRE said this year that it was no equipment could be in this grant cycle. So hopefully next year that will pop up. And I think that's all I got. All right. How about some questions?
I see we have a question from Piper.
Yeah, actually quite a few. First of all, how large an area can a beacon box cover?
That's a common question. It depends on the scale that we're using, the scale of the map. So it could be, you know, a mile or so. If we get beyond 1 to 500 feet, I'm just not comfortable with it. We do have some maps out there that are beyond that, but I kind of lose the quality of the map by having that. But if we've had this quite a few in Malibu, where the area that we're mapping is maybe 2 miles off the road, and there's essentially nothing in between it. So we create an inset map to show how to get from here to there, and then it's the detail map showing that neighborhood that we're concerned about.
Okay, and when you say 1 to 500, so what is at that, what is the area that you can cover?
Give me just a second.
Pepper, you want to move on to your next question? I can help answer your next question while he's looking that up.
Okay. How frequently do you update the information in the boxes?
So that's great. Various customers and clients have different intervals. Recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And depend, in theory, if there's not a lot of development going on, nothing changes, they don't need to be updated that often, but we do recommend that it is at least looked at and evaluated and make sure that there's no major changes.
Okay, and how does that come about? Is that from the group that's put the box in place, or do you have a regular schedule of updating information?
Yeah, so the initial price, does not include map updates. So theoretically, when we get to that time frame, we typically reach out to the customers and ask them if they want to consider a map update, and then for obviously a much smaller fee, because all the data has been, if there's not a lot of updates, obviously that's ideal, and there's no fee. But if there is some additional updates or does require reprinting, obviously there's a reprinting cost, and then obviously the map maker's time for updating whatever update need to be updated. The less updates, the more cost effective it is. The more updates, the more expensive it is. But
Okay.
again, yeah, we're not looking to make a lot of money on that aspect of. We're just looking to maintain the product. So we're not going to charge you an arm and a leg for that.
All right, and then related to that, how current is the information you use to produce the map originally?
The best we can get our hands on. And if we can't get our hands on, we use a lot of machine learning to try to make it. And then we also try to get on the ground if we need to, and actually see it. I think Brandon can tell you, we built maps for him that deployed to his iPad. He drives around and updates the maps, and that data gets then pushed over to us. So there is some level of involvement with the residents. But again, like one of the earlier members says, I think that does kind of help. Kind of like Pam said, that kind of helps build a collaboration, build a sense around, make it a thing that the community is working on together. We kind of see that coherence being really a powerful thing that's really brought communities together. So we kind of like that aspect of it.
Okay, and how does the community provide that input to you for the maps?
We typically build them an ArcGIS field map that gets deployed to like an iPad or whatever. And we ship an iPad or even a login that you can log in, then download the maps, and that's an offline editing capability. And that way you can drive around even with no internet connection, gather all the data that we suggest that you gather, and then that data can get included in the maps. Again, a lot of people will gather more data than we actually include in the maps, because, and the reason behind that is, if you go gather a whole bunch of data, we don't want you to feel bad that we didn't use it all. Again, like I said, Jim's like, we've had over, at this point now, over 17 departments evaluate the maps, and so we're putting in the critical content that they feel or deem is important, not what the homeowner deems important, if that makes sense. So we're trying to keep focusing on what they'd find most useful.
Okay, if a box is accessed and the bolt cutter breaks the lock and you've got the secondary lock on it, how do you restore it, or how does it get restored so that you again have the two lock situation?
Yeah, so we're in the city of Malibu, for example, like we just send them the links to the locks, or we send them a box of locks, whatever. We've done both. We've done a box, and they also got additional locks for the future. And then we also connect them with their printer, and they just reprint new maps, and then just repop. We're in the process of repopulating all the 11 beacon boxes that were accessed during the Broad and Palisades fire now. So we're kind of in that process now, going through it for the first time.
And Piper, if I can add, the idea in this scenario is for the FSC leads to kind of take charge of commanding the replenishing of the beacon boxes. And if if it's easier, when these maps are first drawn out, it'd be up to the FSC leads to verify, for example, egress routes, access routes, egress routes, to verify that with them and update as needed. But if somebody builds a new house, or it's really for critical infrastructure, is when the updates need to be given.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Brandon.
Let me jump in there. So at the scale I was talking about, it's about 1.6 miles that can be covered on that map at that larger scale. We do a lot of it that's smaller than that. And I think it's important for you all to know also is kind of the process we go through is we identify the location of the community that you want to have mapped. So we identify that community. Basically, we build a polygon along it, and then we run a script that Shay has built, and it goes out and it connects all the roads, and then it connects the parcels to the roads, and it creates if you will, neighborhoods that we can now look at those neighborhoods and say, oh, okay, I not knowing the area, now I get a better feel of what's happening here. And from the outside, I can look and I say, okay, here's an access point and here's an access point. We need boxes at both those locations. And if there's a way to get into it from the north, if you say, we should have a box up there as well. So we will run that script, and then I'll send that to you, and I'll give you my idea of where those boxes should be placed, and then it's up to you all. If you want to take what we have said, that's great. If you go, nah, I can't afford that many right now, or I don't think we really need this one, that's your call. We're just, again, we're trying to make it as functional for you as well as for the firefighters.
Yeah, like for example, we had a community where we recommended a box on top, and the fire department reviewed us like, no, like the fire trucks can't actually make it up that road, so they would never go that way. So there's no point to put a box. And like, okay, that's a valid point. So let's drop that box off.
Right.
I just shared in the chat the proposed map for Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council. So to answer the previous question, like what areas does it cover? For the 10,000 acres in Spring Mountain, we have 8 boxes, and so that's 8 different locations. And you'll see when you open it up, some of them are overlapped, and it all depends on the access. And so, for example, Lower Spring Mountain, Langtree, and Upper Spring Mountain will all have the same maps inside of all 3 of those boxes because they're all relevant on the same path. But the Bothay map, you're not going to find in those boxes because it's not necessarily accessible, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of mapping the entire Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council into one map, it's too big of a surface area to cover all the details. And so it's broken down into accessible areas.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon, for sharing that. That's very helpful. We'll kind of see how it's broken down.
Question for Shay. Are you guys, for the counties that are using Genesis, are you guys putting a layer for the evacuation zone and maybe the evacuation zone in all cardinal directions from where the beacon box map is established?
Yeah, we've talked about that. We're open to that. A lot of times the fire department is in the nix idea when we put that in there. We've had users request them, and then it comes down to the fire department if that's something they want on there or not. And so if they want, we're waiting for the first fire department to say that they want them on there. Then that's an easy add. We have all the Genesis layers, so it just comes down to someone saying that they want them on there, and the fire department saying they want them on there as well, and then we'll add them in.
Yeah, I'm just thinking for out of area resources, a lot of times things are pretty dynamic. So I think having departments consider including that would be beneficial.
Yeah, LA County's argument was that by the time the out of area part people come in, they're a little bit later, and most evacuations have been already issued. That was the argument. I don't know the validity of that, or based on how that's applicable to your area, but that's what their argument was in LA County. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they'd be helpful in there. So they could all come down to selling it to the fire department and to tell them that you want it, and we'll throw it on there.
It's definitely an agency decision. I just wondered if you guys were doing it.
Yeah. We definitely brought it up before. We've had discussions at length on it, but we haven't had one that actually stuck yet. Hope that helps.
Cool.
I had a question. How much do the boxes cost?
Oh yeah, the important part. They're $3,950 for the box, and that includes all the mapping, everything, just to get it on your door. There is right now. There's an additional cost for the connector, if you will, because we don't know what kind you're going to be. We don't know how you're going to attach it to what device it is, and they're all a little bit different. So I think that's $100. Right in there.
So, Jim, does it start with a proposal where you sort of outline the broader area, and then you come back with something like Brandon just shared with us that would show what you recommended as the different areas within that footprint?
That would work for me. That's exactly how we would like it.
Okay. And until you decide to order beacon boxes, is there any charge to do this initial analysis?
Not at all.
It is free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we obviously don't want to charge you anything until you're happy with what you think you're getting.
I apologize if someone asked this question already, but is there a minimum, or can an individual beacon box be purchased?
So originally, back when we were first starting and spinning up production, we had a minimum requirement just because we had there's a lot of cost and association assembly line issues that we were kind of working through. So we had a minimum. That minimum is no longer in place for Napa County.
I just shared again on the chat an example of a map that was sent to us for the Hennessy Rector on Pritchard Hill. And this is an example of a map that was rendered after we went through and said, this is the surface area that we want to cover. They sent us the map, and then we went through and drew on the map some of the corrections. You'll see a couple of misspellings, and then maybe some roads that weren't captured in the original map that were drawn in red, egress routes and access points, fire breaks, and fuel breaks that were used up on Hennessy Rector, and then we send that information back to them, and they update the maps.
Yeah, that's important. A lot of the GIS data that is produced by the county or the state level does have spelling mistakes, does have issues in it. So it's really great that have someone that has the local knowledge to kind of just review over and go, oh yeah, this is spelled wrong, or that needs to be updated. That's great because we don't have any visibility to that or any knowledge or way to check some of those local names without that local knowledge. That's why it's this partnership and the collaboration is kind of a little bit, of a back and forth to get these products kind of where they need to be effective, if that makes sense.
And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there's been any discussion at the Firewise level or with you guys at Spring Mountain, working with Pritchard Hill a little bit, of having some kind of a task force for NCFF so that we can make sure that we have some consistency. I know the whole Beacon Box project has consistency built into it, but if we can ensure that there's maybe more consistency
That's
in
music to my ears. I
Napa
love that.
County, that I think that could be really helpful. And then Piper, thank you for asking every question I wrote down and then people I didn't think of.
Yeah. And Donnie, that's what Brandon has been trying to, really tie in with JC and Eric, is to get this county-wide approach that we're basically the beta site for all the other FSCs who want to do this.
Yeah.
Correct. And I, you ask if there should be a task force. I feel like we are the task force.
Yeah.
The FSC leads of the task force that will be maintaining this project.
Yeah, that's perfect. But I think that is really important that we kind of have that we use your successful template or a successful template and build out the county around that.
Yeah, the
And
next part of the template.
Our light sensitive folks will be driving up Spring Mountain to see what it looks like at
Yep.
night.
Exactly. Yeah.
The next part of the template is working with Caltrans, PG&E, and Napa County with encroachment permits or pole attachment permits. Caltrans and encroachment permits and the like. So when we install these beacon boxes, if we have to dig for a pole, we're not going to hit a gas line, or we're not going to cause a fire or anything like that. Make sure we're doing it properly and on whose ever property that it's on, that everyone gets permission.
811, call before you dig.
Correct.
And we'll be working through some of that as NCFF. Obviously, we have to use, approved vendors that have insurance, et cetera, on that. We'll be working through that. But I just wanted to point out again that Stephanie, before we even looked at this giving campaign, had already reached out to JC Greenberg to talk about, their partnership on if we suddenly are now going to be going forth with a number of beacon boxes, making sure that he and his team at Cal Fire, Napa County Fire, were engaged with the maps, engaged with the location. So we did this in a planful way with their input and guidance.
Love that. That's great. That's the best way to do it. So nice work.
Just quick question. Someone mentioned earlier today that it's okay to mount them on power poles. Is PG&E on board with this?
That is per location.
You may need or you may need an encroachment permit. You'll certainly need permission if it's one of their poles.
Right. And it's probably not the best place to put them, but it's been done.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I know that most of you who are on these calls normally know that I cut it at 6, but I think this is a super important conversation. So I wanted to keep this call going. I just want to see if there's any last questions, and then we plan to wrap the call.
No, super exciting. I'm glad to see where we are, and kudos to Spring Mountain for leading the charge.
And Brandon and I are available if anybody has any offline questions. Feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I'm happy to help out or answer any questions that I can.
Brandon is the beacon box king. I will say that.
I have actually one more question. So is this most often used in sort of the hilly areas like Spring Mountain or Diamond Mountain, where you have, long areas and then long driveways and homes up there? My fire safe council is most of Calistoga. It's what is in Calistoga that's not in the Diamond Mountain Fire Safe Council. So, a lot of it is flatland. There's some on the periphery that's, that are sort of more rural, certainly in the WUI, but not to the extent that something like Spring Mountain or Diamond Mountain is. how useful are these beacon boxes in areas like that?
Well, Piper, if you don't mind, fellas,
please.
my thought process when we started this project was to figure out and prioritize the FSCs that are the most challenging to navigate, and start there. And since I'm a part of Spring Mountain, we started in Spring Mountain, and then we'll hit the next FSC that's the most challenging, and kind of prioritize from there. Is my thought process.
Yeah, and to give you some context for that, City of Malibu chose to put beacon boxes on south of PCH, which is interesting because typically the PCH is higher, so theoretically from the roadway you can see all the communities. But their argument was they were so happy with how everything was laying out and the quality of maps that they thought it gave great intel for situational planning, and everything from drilling to actual operational needs. So their thought was, well, the cost of losing one home, or the lost revenue from losing one home for tax revenue, was worth paying for, would cover the cost of all the boxes. So they were, even areas that we weren't initially thinking, they elected to put them in there because they thought it actually helped.
And Brandon, how are you determining priorities?
We take recommendations from CAL FIRE. So when the first map that I shared, we wanted to figure out what's the most challenging locations to navigate, and just prioritize from there. And so we work closely with CAL FIRE on those priorities.
Do you have a current list of priorities?
You mean as with respect to with our single fire safe council, or with respect to all the fire safe councils in order?
Well, you had mentioned all the fire safe councils.
Yeah, well, we're starting with Spring Mountain. Probably Diamond Mountain will be next, but that's under the assumption that Napa County will help us get boxes for everyone in the county. And so I think that's what Firewise is trying to do, is raise money to get multiple boxes for the county.
Well, what we're doing though is across all of the FSCs right now. So we're going to lean into Chief Greenberg identifying where across all of our FSCs, but we're not going to just necessarily go to Diamond Mountain next and go to this. So if, for example, Berryessa Highlands raises funds for, 2 beacon boxes, and Greenberg says they can use 3, we're definitely going to put 2 there. We're not going to then go to Diamond Mountain. So we are doing this as a fundraiser across all of our FSCs.
Got it. Yeah.
Cool. But I think that partnership with CAL FIRE, Napa Fire is important, as well as partnership and, leaning into what we've learned in Spring Mountain. So I so appreciate Jim, you and Shay jumping on tonight and answering all our questions, and getting on the witness stand and having Piper cross-examine you. So thank you very much.
Cool.
And I really do appreciate Brandon, you and Pam staying on as well and offering, your wisdom from your experience, and just so appreciate this community of all of your engagement. And we're going to be available to answer questions. I know Pam and Brandon, you offered. I know Jim and Shay, you're standing by. Stephanie's going to be reaching out with materials. This won't be the last conversation we have about this. Please feel free to shoot me any questions as well, and we will continue to work on this project.
Yeah, and I love the cohesion, love this whole gathering and how you guys conglomerate of all these different fire safe councils. That's really kind of exciting. I think this is what every community needs. So it's really exciting to see you guys do this, because I would love to see this model be propagated throughout the state. So,
could I ask you a question?
Of course.
I'm on the board for the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council, and I am really interested in this Napa Valley CanDo. Is that something you guys put together, or are you a part of a larger organization?
It's an organization, and we are one of the nonprofits participating in it. Nice. So I'm sure Stephanie can hook you up with the contact for that whole program. So I'll make sure that I connect you two on that subject after this.
That'd be great.
And we're just one of the participating nonprofits. There's over 150 who are participating in the program.
Cool. Excellent.
Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you all for, an hour and 24 minutes of your attention to what I think is a super important topic, and thanking our special guests, and wishing you all a good, late, hopefully still warm dinner.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Pam. Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Learned a lot.
Thank you.
Good night.